Hey, hi there. How are you today? It's good to have you. It's good to see you all here. I was kind of like racing to get here today. I think I sat down here at my desk and put my computer up at about 3 minutes ago. I'm not exaggerating. Four, maybe four. So anyway, I have an exciting topic today. Really excited. It's very in depth and it's very a bit complex, and so I kind of was thinking about how I wanted to talk about this today, and there's still some things I want to investigate. I haven't yet decided how I think about them or whatnot, and I'm not going to tell you what those are. But anyway, so let's get into today's program. Without further ado, I am Rebecca Becky Montrone, have a business here in Keene, New Hampshire called Wondrous Roots. And Wondrous Roots stands for dealing with the roots of things, right? The root cause of sickness and disease, the root medicines we use, the earth providing through God's creation, and how we are created. We talked with Raymond last week about breathing, things that are right here and easily accessible to us that aren't fancy medications can really make a difference on our health. So using the roots of the earth. And then Wondrous Roots, my family roots. My mother was a registered nurse way back when. My father, compound pharmacist, and I kind of came by the DNA of the two of them naturally. My mother also had Alzheimer's at a very young age, and so figuring out how to outsmart nasty health things in life is one of my passions, and I'm very happy doing it. We are open here 9:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. On the third floor of the Miller Forge building in downtown Keene, New Hampshire. We have plenty of free parking. We have elevator access. And we are on the third floor. The minute you get the second you open the door from the stairwell or the elevator door opens, you will see our door here. You can call me at 603-439-2603. You can also reach out to me from either of my websites, wondrousroots.org or shopwondrousroots.com. And I think that just about says it. Today is January 13th, 2024. And I am going to open my newsletter, which is really quite chock full of information today. If you are attending, you likely subscribe to my newsletter because that's where you get the link to attend. So always, find there, you will find very many excellent resources for just digging deeper. Today it was really fantastic. I was able to get a couple of really nice resources that you can then take advantage of. Add them to your files, read them when you can, if you're interested in the topic. And a lot of times, you might know somebody who is interested in it or who you love and care about, who it might pertain to, whatever it is I'm talking about and whatever information is in that newsletter. So please. And if you are listening on Rumble or on YouTube later and listening, you will see down in the description, you'll see the link to this newsletter. So if you're just doing this and you didn't get there by way of my newsletter, then you will see a way there when you click on it that you can sign up if you'd like to be added to my email list. I typically send out an email pertaining to whatever I'm talking about on my weekly Saturday program on Saturday. And sometimes I send some other notifications too. So I will be doing another one later because today or tomorrow, because we have a practice with their, anyway, you'll see it. It's a practice that's that's bringing their headquarters to Keene, called Bliss Wellness and Coaching. And it's two lovely women, Shay Goodell and Jocelyn Gilbert, who are heading that up, and they are having their open house on Wednesday night. So I'll be sending out a notification about that for those of you who are local and may want to attend that, but also just to be informed because they do tele networking work as well. And anyway, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so I want to open my newsletter myself so I can get in on that. So one of the things that happened over the holidays was on New Year's weekend, I was able to do I have a stack of books always that I'm reading and I want to read. And I was able to knock off a couple that were right there at the top of the list. And one was the book that I highlighted in my program on deer antler velvet back, oh gosh, a few months ago. Lou Wrong, and we talked about that, and it was so interesting. And there was a book recommended there by an author by the name of Betty. I can't remember exactly right now. And I didn't bring those 2 books. I didn't bring the 3 books I'm referring to with me today because I was scrambling to get out of the house. Luckily, I only live like 2 minutes away. So, but in any case, that kind of that was very, very interesting to see, again, the way deer antler velvet works in different ways to promote anti-aging and the different ways it's been used throughout history. It's been used in traditional Chinese medicine for a good 2,000 years or more. And so I actually like to, I think I'm going to do a program, maybe even next week, catching up odds and ends from different things I've talked about where I have more information now. And anyway, I don't want to get off topic, but that led me to, there was a whole topic in there. Well, that mentioned in there was insulin-like growth factor, otherwise known as IGF-1-1. And I'm not going to talk too much about that today because there are upsides and downsides to promoting insulin-like growth factor in adulthood. And so I want to feel better about how I feel about it before I talk too much about it. But in that whole process, the other book I wanted to read was called The MMM Theory. And the MMM theory is referring to the Microbiome Mucosal Milieu. And this is a very interesting theory of disease, and particularly autoimmune disease. And it kind of comes down to the idea that the body isn't really attacking itself per se in an autoimmune condition, but it's attacking the toxins and all of the things from poor food, poor eating habits, things that are just interfering and getting into our bodies that shouldn't be there. And I think that we can all agree that that's a big problem. And how the body is, in an effort to rid itself of these things, is attacking the body. Now, having read the whole book, I have to say, I do tend to agree that the body does indeed turn on itself, given the proper catalysts. For instance, if you have, say, you're a youngster and you have a very acute infection of some sort, or even an older person, an acute infection can disrupt the normal immune response and flip the switch. And so I'm not, while I really gleaned a lot of good stuff from this book, I would say I do believe that autoimmune illnesses can come from other sources than toxins and things that we get in our diet and that happen. But a huge important point. So I'm going to open my newsletter and just hit some highlights there. And then I'm probably going to be sharing my screen quite a bit to go through some of these things. What's really awesome is last night, as I was preparing for this, I wanted to look up. I just went into DuckDuckGo. I don't Google, I DuckDuckGo, but it's not too terribly different. But anyway, I was searching for the name of a doctor in the book Peptide Immunotherapy, which is all about colostrum. That's the third book, and that's the book I'm in right now. And there's a doctor who's used it in practice, and I have not had a chance to read that chapter yet, and I'm going to do that probably today, later on. But I was Googling his name, and I came up with what are essentially the cliff notes to this very highly technical book. And I was able to just pass that on to you. So you can click right there on that very big button What can colostrum do for me? What is colostrum good for? Why is it the most important nutrient for the prevention of chronic disease? Now, the reason I got into this book was because in the MMM theory book about autoimmune disease, and this particular one of the authors had suffered from ulcerative colitis for very many years. And so this was kind of like a big focus, although they say they're doing a second book and it's going to focus more on the gastrointestinal things. But in any case, he recommended, this is written with a doctor, and recommending colostrum. Colostrum is the first milk, bovine colostrum. Okay, so we know human colostrum. It's the first milk that comes in once a mother delivers for the baby, and it's full of things that really support the immune system and do amazing things. Well, the cows do that too. And so you can purchase bovine colostrum and in capsule or powder form and use it as a supplement. So I'm going to highlight some of these things. I just started using it this past week because you know me, I got to try everything I read about and think that might be beneficial to me. And I really like it, and it's super easy to incorporate into my regimen. So what I actually do is I wait until I get here after I've taken everything else, and I add it to my decaf coffee, and I swirl it in there, and then I put it in my drinking thing and sip it throughout for over an hour or whatever. But anyway, it's very good for you. Okay, so the first and foremost thing that must be understood about colostrum is what it isn't, namely that colostrum is not a medication. Colostrum, our first food of life, is naturally designed to maintain health and prevent disease rather than cure a disease that you already may have. To make an analogy, this author says, and this is Andrew Keach, PhD, and never mind. It's very fascinating how he came to this work. It's not a medication. It's to make an analogy, it's better to close the barn door before the horse runs out than after it already has, right? And that's what this kind of what Wondrous Roots is all about. It's great if you can use things to effectively treat a disease or a condition that already exists that's negative. But wow, how much more potent, how much better to prevent in the first place. And that starts best the younger you are, to adopt good habits and to do these good things. So colostrum, our first food of life, is naturally designed, okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so colostrum is an amazing cornucopia of everything we need to maintain health, functional gastrointestinal tract, and which is key to good health in general. Many diseases have their origins in the gut, and the proper absorption of nutrients is key to maintaining the body in top running condition. One of the primary functions, if not the primary function of colostrum, is gut health, the microbiome. And I did a program on the microbiome a few months ago, and that's also on my archived videos and newsletters. The condition of our gastrointestinal tract, okay, so that's the mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, and the large and small intestines, is our most important health concern due to the amount of potentially harmful material that passes through it, and the fact that many, if not most, diseases originate in the gut in one way or another. And wow, what a population of gut health problems we have. I mean, as a practitioner, I see it all the time. I mean, so many people with diarrhea, constipation, IBS, and then going beyond that, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, you name it. There's just a lot. There seems to be a disproportionate amount of gastrointestinal health issues that are very common, like thyroid issues, right? And we talk about iodine deficiency and how prevalent that is. And why do we have certain things that are more prevalent now than they should be in a given population? And I would say that those types of irritable bowel issues are huge. Okay, yet gut health is mostly ignored unless we are already suffering from diarrhea, indigestion, or other GI problems. We don't think about it that much. We don't think about how we could do other things, like here he says improve our sex life or remove wrinkles on our skin. Things like that are much more interesting than talking about our gut health. So anyway, he talks about dysbiosis and the imbalance of the proper microbiome. So we've talked about that too. So that's, you've got not enough of the good bacteria, right, in certain areas, not enough, and too much of the bad bacteria. And you have this imbalance. And it says here, he says, many autoimmune conditions such as Crohn's disease and rheumatoid arthritis and most food allergies can be traced to leaky gut syndrome. There are many other causes of leaky gut in addition to this problem with dysbiosis, which is that microbiome imbalance, including alcoholism, people taking a lot of the NSAID nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories, right? Like Advil, ibuprofen, Aleve, those types of things, and just taking these on a chronic basis. Aging can have an effect as well, and excessive amounts of toxins in the gut, which is exactly what the Microbiome Mucosal Milieu book is honing in on. Whatever the cause, leaky gut can have serious consequences. Colostrum, this author, Dr. Keach, says, is the best remedy known for all-around gut health. Colostrum restores leaky gut to normal permeable levels. Okay, so leaky gut, you've got junctions in the intestinal wall that are too big. You've got spaces where molecules of things that are not supposed to get into your bloodstream can, because there's too much, there's holes in the fence. That and food allergies, why you get food allergy particles that aren't supposed to be getting into your bloodstream. They get into the bloodstream because of these large openings, and then the immune system says, what is this? We need to attack, and begins to see that particular food as an allergen, as something to go after, as something that you can't, it shouldn't be there. Okay, so it contains colostrum growth factors and hormones to help repair damage to the intestinal lining, including the damage caused by NSAIDs and other medications, and restore gut integrity. That's really important, because that's like the first bottom line is you got to stop the leak first. But while you're doing that, it would be doing all the other stuff too, like helping feed the good bacteria and all that, as we shall see. It contains massive doses of what are known as immunoglobulins that help control harmful bacteria and fungi such as Candida in order to restore what is known as orthobiosis. It has been clinically proven to control such harmful bacteria as H. pylori. So H. pylori is an infection that can cause stomach ulceration, and other problems, needs to be healed, needs to be eradicated. And so it helps with that. Colostrum has also been shown to increase the surface area of the intestinal lining, which improves the absorption of nutrients. So most of our nutrients are absorbed through the intestinal lining, specifically in the small intestine. And so we absorb certain nutrients. There are a few that are absorbed in the stomach, very predicated and necessary that we have the proper stomach acid at that point in time of digestion, which is another whole topic of discussion, as one of the chief ways that mainstream medicine deals with gastrointestinal issues such as acid reflux, et cetera, is to impair acid production in the stomach. So anyway, but now the food moves on to the very alkaline small intestine, and the small intestine is very narrow, and the peristalsis of the small intestine is very much more, active than the large intestine, because the large intestine, you're moving fecal matter down through and to be excreted and all of that. But in the small intestine, you're getting all those nutrients. And so you've got this, the small intestine is more narrow, and the bloodstream is right there. And that's where all of this activity goes on, and the nutrients from your food are supposed to now go out into the bloodstream and nourish your body. That's the problem with, say, celiac, right? Because in the small intestine, the things that are really important, they're these little hair-like structures called villi. And the villi are supposed to stand up nice and straight. And they help with all of this and getting the nutrients in there. When people have celiac, the inflammation from the celiac, the gluten allergy, causes those villi to lie down, and they don't do their job. And over time, if a person with celiac continues to expose themselves to gluten, I'm not talking about a gluten intolerant person, I'm talking about somebody with celiac disease, then this will just get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until ultimately that person cannot absorb nutrients from the food they eat. That's very, very serious. Okay. There are no known side effects from using colostrum. So there you go. First, do no harm, right? Leaky gut syndrome or intestinal permeability is given to a very common health disorder in which the intestinal lining is more permeable than normal. And blah, 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 blah. I just talked about that. Basically, it's caused, like, how does it get that way? It's caused by infection and the attendant inflammation of the gut lining. Okay, I'm about to sneeze. That's why I love the mute button. Okay, you didn't have to hear that. You saw it, but you didn't have to hear it. Yeah, okay, I won't digress. So the infection and inflammation can be, hi, Lisa. Lisa just said hi. Hi, Lisa. I'm glad you're there, you and Tom. Okay, and if you're going to say more, go ahead, type more. That's a good reminder, everybody. If you want to talk to me or talk to anyone, can you take this supplement if you're lactose intolerant? Very good. Yes. Now before I answer that, if you want to ask a question, hit the chat down at the bottom, hit the Q&A down at the bottom and type, or raise your hand and I'll call on you and you can talk. Okay. Now that was a question I had too. And I find in this piece, this is like an overview of the highlights here of that book. And this author, the man with the PhD, Keach, who wrote this Peptide Immunotherapy book, he says, colostrum is a perfect food, combining all the crucial immune and growth factors in the exact synergistic combination necessary to promote life. For many, it is considered the ideal alternative to hundreds of pharmaceutical drugs, from antibiotics to steroids. Research on colostrum has documented benefits from dosages in the range of 2 to 60 grams per day with no known contraindications, side effects, or allergic reactions reported over thousands of years of use. It is even safe for those with lactose intolerance. Some experts recommend taking it in a divided dose, at least 1 gram twice a day for maximum benefit. So I'm assuming that the reason for that is that colostrum, being the first, that yellow milk, right, that comes in, probably doesn't contain lactose. Although I see out there on the market colostrum supplements that say they're more tolerated by those who are lactose intolerant, and that they add lactase, like lactate milk, to help with that. So I can only say that would maybe be important if you added something else to your colostrum powder rather than the pure colostrum, because apparently that's not, and this is not an advertiser. This is a very serious scientist who wrote this and has done more research. It's so interesting because if you start Googling colostrum, you'll read things that say, oh, people say colostrum is good for your immune system. It's good for this, it's good for that. But there's really very little science to back this up. And I'm like, what? I mean, this book was written in 2009, and this is it's like a textbook. And there's tons of evidence. I'm sure, like if you go to PubMed database or something like that. So a lot of times, especially in your top hits on search engines, you're going to find information that tries to discourage you from using a natural something, whatever it is, because they don't want you to use the natural whatever it is. And I know that sounds like I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a person who knows there are very many horrible conspiracies out there, and they're not theories. But I think of it like you can get Bob's Red Mill baking soda. It says aluminum free. Well, baking soda doesn't have aluminum. Baking powder does. So, so saying that it doesn't contain, that's because they know people are misinformed and they don't know. They just know I don't want aluminum, and they can't remember, is it baking soda or baking powder? So a company will put on their label, there's no aluminum. Well, there's no aluminum in any baking soda. So anyway, do you get that? Okay. Here's a partial list of the benefits of colostrum. This goes on page after page after page. And so I'm not going to read all of those. I'm going to hit some of the highlights because I think that that's the kind of thing that we have time for in a program like this where we only have 1 hour. And again, you can go back in and read all you want to your heart's delight later on. So I'm going to go up here. Okay, it talks about lactoferrin, what's in it, and all these different things. And if you're interested in all of that, good. You can find out all the different constituents and what, kind of an overview of what they do, how they work. So, yeah, okay. We have heard so much in recent years about heart disease and what we can do to prevent it. Diet and exercise are some of the best weapons we can use to fight this killer. But for many, the immune and growth factors found in colostrum may be what we needed to win the war. Altered immunity may be the hidden cause of atherosclerosis and cardiovascular disease. There's another postulation, another hypothesis, right? For example, the American College of Cardiology recently reported that a common type of chlamydia bacteria has been associated with arterial plaque formation in over 79% of patients with heart disease. Yeah, it's so interesting. My father said to me one time, he said, Becky, I think a lot of these things that we think of as chronic conditions are just bugs we're not getting at. And that was a couple of decades ago when he said that. I do know where he was when he said it. That's how my memory is, and how, important. When my father said something that was important, I didn't have to take out a pad and a paper and a pencil, pad of paper and a pencil. I put it in my head and just remembered it. But I think that's that's kind of what that is what this is saying here with this particular example. Another recent study concluded that heart disease is the result of immune sensitization to cardiac antigens. In other words, once heart tissue is damaged, the immune system begins creating antibodies, which then cause more harm. Because heart disease resembles an autoimmune response in this way, colostrum's proline-rich peptides, that's what the PRPs refer to, can help limit the severity of the disease by toning down the immune system's attack on damaged heart tissue. In addition, the other immune factors found in colostrum can directly combat the chlamydia bacteria. Finally, insulin-like growth factor 1 and growth hormone in colostrum can lower LDL cholesterol while increasing HDL cholesterol concentrations, and colostrum growth factors promote the repair and the regeneration of heart muscle and the regeneration of new blood vessels for collateral coronary circulation, not calcification. Great. Scratch that, back up. Both milk and colostrum contain hypotensive factors, so high blood pressure, called ACE inhibitory peptides, which decrease blood pressure and lower the risk of heart attack and stroke. The calcium found in milk and colostrum also contributes to lower blood pressure. But of course, that would not be like taking some whopping dose of a calcium carbonate or whatever, right? It's not like taking, like they tell you at the doctors, just take massive amounts of calcium. Well, we've talked about the danger there, but this is a natural source embedded with all of these other synergistic constituents, if you will, and not out of ratio. Influenza. A recent study showed the efficacy of a 2-month treatment with oral colostrum, so colostrum taken orally, in the prevention of flu episodes compared with anti-influenza vaccination. After 3 months of follow-up, the number of days with flu was 3 times higher in the non-colostrum subjects. Colostrum, both in healthy subjects and high-risk cardiovascular patients, is at least 3 times more effective than vaccination in preventing flu and is very cost-effective. Yeah, it's just so interesting. Of course, this man has references for everything. This book is very technical and of high scientific integrity. And yet, if you go again and you Google and you ask about colostrum and the flu, you're going to find websites trying to tell you, the flu vaccine is still the best way to prevent the flu. Now, we know how the story goes, right? We just know. Anyway, cancer. Colostrum has been shown to be of benefit against that most feared of diseases, cancer. Numerous research studies have shown that bovine colostrum prevents the development of cancers, particularly cancers associated with the gastrointestinal tract, under experimental conditions. So what would those be? We're talking stomach cancer, pancreatic cancer, liver cancer. Those are all, we think of, colon is obvious, right? But not just colon, stomach, pancreatic, liver, bile duct cancer. Those are all part of the digestive system. Anal, rectal cancer. Both in healthy subjects and high risk. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, we're talking about people, the risk of cancer, all of that. We all know about that. And blah, de, blah. Colostral lactalbumin has been found to cause a selective death of cancer cells, leaving the surrounding non-cancerous tissues unaffected. Lactoferrin has similarly been reported to possess anti-cancer activity. The incredible mix of immune and growth factors in colostrum can inhibit the spread of cancer cells. And if viruses are involved in either the initiation of this or the spread of the cancer, colostrum could prove to be one of the best ways to prevent the disease in the first place. And does that mean that you have to take tons, the 60 grams would be 60,000 milligrams of colostrum a day? No. Many of these studies are done with quite a bit less. The one I've been doing 4,000 a day. And I think I'm going to go to like 2,000 a day because I think that's a great, I don't have, leaky gut or any of that. Thank God. I don't have any of that kind of stuff. I don't have anything. I'm very intrigued about its effect on cartilage for the aging population, which we're all aging. I don't care what age you are, you're aging, but I'm 65. So I want to make sure that things that happen to cartilage and collagen, the things that hold us all together, because those things increase as you get older, that I'm supporting them. And that's, if I were to say, what's the primary reason I'm using colostrum, that would be it. But I love all the other side bennies too, to know that those things exist. Okay, so it's good about AIDS, and they talk about that, but that's not going to be my focus today. Athletic use, athletes love colostrum because the growth factors in it help burn fat while building lean muscle. Colostrum builds strength and shortens recovery time. It also protects athletes from getting sick when at their most vulnerable following a vigorous workout when the immune system is temporarily disabled. It's like people will come in and say, I was feeling better. I was sick. Then I went to the gym, for a couple of days and really worked out. Now I'm sick again. I'm like, yeah, don't do that if you're sick or if you're just recovering from getting sick, because all of that energy from that your body wants to put towards your immune system is now getting rerouted to support everything that goes on when you're exercising vigorously. Moderate exercise is fine, right? Taking a nice walk or whatever, but you don't want to just go back to your big, heavy lifting workout, really high intensity, if you're coming down with something or if you're just recovering. Okay. Some athletes and trainers have even labeled colostrum as the new creatine. And this probably goes to the insulin-like growth factor. And I don't advise in an artificial way really pumping yourself up with tons of IGF-1 as you're older, because this can also feed high insulin-like growth factor can also feed cancers, right? Can also cause other problems. So everything in balance. And that's what I love about the colostrum, is that you have it tucked into this natural product, and you are not overdoing something like, people who are getting human growth hormone shots. Like, I would never recommend anything like that. I think that's really dangerous. And one of the things it does is promotes the production of insulin-like growth factor. So all things in moderation, perhaps, is a good way to say that. Fitness. So athletic use kind of topples into fitness. Study are now showing significant gains in fitness with colostrum supplementation. A widely reported study in Australia, found a 20% increase in strength, stamina, and shortened recovery time for both soccer players and cyclists. Many bodybuilders and fitness experts say, Many bodybuilders and fitness experts say colostrum works better than any other legal substance they have ever experienced. The growth factors found in colostrum are now known to enhance muscle tone, burn off body fat, promote skin elasticity. Okay, again, these are things that start to crumble as we get older, and to increase bone density. TGF alpha and beta, transforming growth factors, stimulate production and repair of the RNA and DNA, as well as repair of damaged muscle fibers in athletes. Go through there. Olympic skiers taking colostrum experienced less fatigue and improved their performance in a placebo-controlled study in Finland. They also showed only half the level of blood creatine kinase, a marker of muscle injury, compared to placebo control. And it's so interesting because I go back to Lou Wrong, and I sort of in a weird, disjointed way told you how one thing led me to another. And it was Lou Wrong, and it's talking about the same kind of thing, the muscle recovery. And it's being a source of glucosamine and chondroitin and all of the chondroblasts and the fibroblasts that are involved with those nutrients, if you would call them that, and how it's important to have that whole food environment, again, as in the deer antler velvet itself. It says, overall, colostrum is considered as powerful as steroids at generating increased muscle mass when used in conjunction with exercise, but without the risks and side benefits. Studies have shown that the growth factors present in colostrum increase between 2,500% to 4,000% with exposure to acidity. Okay, to gain the maximum benefits. Okay. Yeah, they say take it toward the end of a meal or 45 minutes before a physical workout session with a protein drink. friendly flora, which naturally promotes a healthy acidity level in the colon, may also enhance the benefits of colostrum. All right, so let me just jump around because we've got about 20 minutes left here. I'm going to come back to this page, but in the book, the MMM theory, so the Microbiome Mucosal Milieu, he had a couple of cool, as a practitioner, things that I'm trying now with people and will be trying. And I'll get back to, well, I will be using, in addition to Moducare and glutathione, with the people I work with who have autoimmune conditions, such as rheumatoid arthritis or Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis or lupus or scleroderma or Sjogren's, whatever. Colostrum is will be of huge benefit there. But I thought it was very interesting. The authors, the doctor, oh gosh, what is his name? Dr. Miletus and Dr. Chris Miletus in the MMM theory recommends using certain probiotics for different parts of the microbial mucosa. So that's like all the mucosal membranes throughout our system is what he's saying. He's saying we tend to just think of the mucosal territory as being the gastrointestinal tract from the mouth, down and out. But we don't also think about the sinuses. We don't think about the brain. We don't think about the blood vessels also being part of the Microbiome Mucosal Milieu. And so he recommended for acid reflux, and this is something I've never thought of and I've never tried with anybody yet because I just read this and just getting on board with this, but he recommended using, for that type of a condition, and we would also say for things such as somebody getting chronic sinus infections, right? Or you struggle with, I'm always getting strep throat. I'm always getting tonsillitis. I'm getting these bronchitis, asthma sort of thing, combining certain probiotics. And there are certain probiotics that are really specific for the ear, the mouth, the ears, the nose, the throat. Also would be very good for dental health. This is something brand new to me that I wasn't aware of. And we carry them now as of this past week. Supports optimum. And anyway, so using that along with colostrum to heal the gut, to get the balance back in there. Colostrum also is a rich source of the prebiotics that feed the probiotics. So that combination, I am so interested to see among people with an acid reflux problem, if that makes any difference at all. I don't know from my personal experience. I'm just throwing it out there. And it's something I would love to try with somebody. We also have another thing I put into the newsletter called nanospray, which is a specifically formulated colloidal silver, not the super, super high strength colloidal silver. It's done in a certain way. And you can click on that product and see more about that there if you're interested. But you put this into your nose. And it is, again, to deal with the whole microbiome in this area, your ears, your eyes, your nose, your throat, your mouth, upper respiratory. And I have had people really like using that. So I think that the whole concept that we have to think about the microbiome and the balance of bacteria in all over the body is really, really important. So, if you're a person you've got, or, if your children or somebody, somebody has bad breath, the chronic bad breath, I would say, try these probiotics that are designed for that area. Try something like the nanospray to try to get the microbiome balanced there. And then in the book, the MMM theory, talked about different inflammatory bowel conditions. And the recommendation there was a set of another, and not the only recommendation, right? And that, I'm not saying these are now the only things you need to do. But I'm saying another approach. And we can talk about talk about, he lists there in his book a list of the probiotic strains you want specifically for things like Crohn's, colitis, IBS. And there's a good list of them. And I was, excuse me, so thrilled. Because I had I had a client who was just diagnosed with Crohn's. And I had recommended colostrum way before I read this book on colostrum, or read the book on deer antler velvet that talked about colostrum. But in any case, and the other one, but because that's just kind of a known thing. But I found this probiotic. I don't carry it here yet anyway, but I found this for her on Amazon. And this is by Physician's Choice. And it was interesting because one of my other clients showed me the probiotic she was using, and it is this particular one as well. And so this one is 16 strains, and they are the ones that are particular to, like I was able to check off every single one in his list is in this one. And it's a full 100 billion. So we take that and say, let's try to heal what's going on here. The immune response in ulcerative colitis and Crohn's, the intestinal junction, the intestinal permeability, the getting the microbiome straight, feeding those and getting the probiotics in there that are specific to that particular condition. So I think it's really exciting. Yeah, I'm going to go back to, let me go back to just kind of jumping around here. And again, you can explain, but I'm going to open up. This was how I found out about the book, The MMM Theory, is that I subscribed to the Townsend letter for doctors and whatever. And I've been subscribing ever since my father got me a gift subscription decades ago, and have tons of the archived journals. And they no longer do a printed journal. It's all online now. But just a really great informational resource. And there was an excerpt in one of their editions a few weeks ago. And that's how I found out about this book. And what I wanted to show you is there's a great overview of this book. And you can just click on it there. And I mean, honestly, many of you aren't going to want to read a whole book about that. My best friend has Hashimoto's disease. Would this be beneficial for this type of ailment? I would say yes, because Hashimoto's is actually the most common form of hypothyroidism, but it is an autoimmune response, as is Graves with hyperthyroidism. So yes, I would say it definitely would be. In fact, I would be surprised if I didn't see in the list some kind of a link towards maybe even thyroid support, because it would make sense. Oh, Jean, what is the subscription my dad gave me? The Townsend letter for doctors and I don't know, can't remember, but it's a holistically based medical journal. The Townsend letter. I'll show it to you here. The Townsend letter. Anyway, the book excerpt, The MMM Theory, A New Paradigm in Medicine. And so they basically hypothesize the Microbiome Mucosal Milieu is an entity that is located throughout the body, and it's not limited to any particular location in the body. The Microbiome Mucosal Milieu can be viewed as a continuously vacillating system that shifts with ongoing adaptation to maintain health-promoting homeostasis, so balance, for both itself and the human body. Imagine for a moment the peak of a sand dune amid an expansive desert. The peak of that dune will have an ever-changing GPS location, just as homeostasis is always adapting and ever-changing. So again, going to their that excerpt. Let me talk about this. I found this really fascinating. So you know how they do, maybe you've heard about fecal transplants, like taking healthy stool and transplanting it into the intestines of someone, to the colon of someone with unhealthy, with a disease like an autoimmune disease, specifically, and most often something that's related to the gut. And that's as weird and strange as that sounds. In this book, they talk about the skin, the microbiome of the skin, and people with skin conditions, AKA eczema, psoriasis, that kind of thing. Those are autoimmune conditions. But now think about, probably nobody's ever going to do this, but I thought that this was interesting. You take someone in the family, someone else in the family of the person who has the skin disease, and you have that person sleep in the same pair of pajamas for several nights. And then the person with the skin disease now sleeps in that pair of pajamas that the person with the healthy skin wore for several nights. The whole idea is the same thing. The microbiome of the skin in that healthy person is totally different than the microbiome of the skin of the person with the eczema or psoriasis or whatever that may be. It makes sense, doesn't it? It sounds really fascinating. If that's the case, if you're in a family and you're comfortable doing that, you've got somebody, you're not going to wear the pajamas of the person with the skin disease and change your healthy microbiome, but say you're the person with a healthy microbiome and one of your family members has one of these things, why not try it? You have nothing to lose. I thought that was really cool. And it's along the same kind of principle as a fecal transplant. I will tell you, he does have a list of how we can end up getting having problems with the things that we eat. So supporting diversity, birth and childhood, who's in the kitchen? So he says here, and this is in chapter 9, which is a great chapter in that book, Diet, Lifestyle, and Supplement Considerations. And he talks a lot about things, not to be putting into our bodies and how to get rid of certain things that are in our bodies already. Excuse me. We will discuss all food factors, not just pathogens. These include dietary diversity, so eating a rounded diet, GMO, organic, nutrient-depleted foods, irradiated foods, homogenized, vegetarian, and the harmful effects of ingested alkalinity. Your so-called Kenga water, your alkaline water. No, it never made sense to me either. Why would you drink alkaline water? Number one, your stomach's acid. You drink alkaline water that you spent thousands of dollars on some machine somebody convinced you to buy. And now you swallow it into a stomach that hopefully is acidic. The pH of your stomach needs to be somewhere between 1 and 2 something. And so alkaline water is like silly, but also alkalinity is something that stops the killing of bad stuff. So like when you have postnasal drip and things like that, mucus, and you swallow it, your stomach acidity is supposed to kill any pathogens or any kind of junk stuff, pathogens that are in that. So stomach acidity is really important. So that's why he says that. Indeed, food selection is paramount to creating and sustaining a healthy microbiota, and thus is part of establishing a healthy, dynamic MMM. So talks about that. And if I was supposed to have my book with me, which would have been great because I would have just read to you right out of there. He says, like, who's in the bathroom? he says, and this is something to think about washing your hands after the bathroom. It's not that you've actually touched poop, right? Like, that's not the thing. It says it can be rare that a person washes their hands before flushing the toilet. So thus the toilet handle is contaminated with human microbiota, as is the bathroom stall door, faucets, paper towel dispenser, and notorious bathroom door handle. Now, I'm not saying that you should need to be nasty neat or anything, but think about that when you think about picking up somebody's distorted microbiome. Who's in the bedroom? Intimate partner exposure is also considered when looking at shifts in microbiota diversity and the MMM. Just as with food, oral contact with surfaces, human or inanimate, will expose you to potentially new and novel bacterial species. Exposure is exposure, whether it be from the kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, family pet, or garden. The skin is well inoculated, which also speaks to the MMM's expansive reach in the body far beyond the GI tract. Anyway, yeah, I just wish I had brought my books with me, but that's okay, because maybe that was just providential and I'm supposed to, because we don't have much more time today to talk about this. If anybody else has a question or a comment or anything that doesn't pertain to this while I'm still here that you want to bring up, go ahead. So where am I? Peptide immunotherapy. So I was going down through a list of some of the things that this is good for. We talked about athletic and muscle repair, cancer, the gut for sure, diabetes, talks about that. And then, oh, thank you, Barbara. She said, great show, Becky. Thank you. Immune health, it's huge for immune health. We talked about that. And then, where do I want to go? I wanted to go, that section on immune health is really, heart disease, we talked about that. The flu, we talked about cancer, we talked about, I skipped over AIDS because that doesn't, I know that that's a problem for some, but it's not the general public, usually speaking. I mean, not probably those of you who are with me here today. Healing, tissue repair, anti-aging. There we go, because we're all aging. Getting a little long in the tooth, then colostrum is for you. Colostrum has many antioxidant and anti-aging components to keep you in top shape longer. It helps keep skin looking young and healthy. It removes dangerous free oxygen radicals, metabolic waste products that can cause you to age more rapidly. So again, getting rid of those things, that's spoken about in the MMM theory, getting rid of the toxins, detoxifying. So colostrum is part of that whole detoxifying effect. It supplies us with growth factors and other important substances that normally decline with age, leading to cell senescence, senile cells, and accelerated aging. Oxidation is the normal metabolism of nutrients in the body. As we age, we are less able to remove the byproducts of metabolism, resulting in high levels of reactive oxygen species, which results in oxidative stress and inflammation in humans. And we've talked about that all the time. Oh, and guess what? It even has something to do with glutathione. I'm going to get to say that. I'm going to search for that right here. Glutathione, hang on. 12 references to glutathione. Whoops, backspace. Come on. I know it was up in here. Not in the references. There's so many references in this thing. Okay, let me go back up. Oh, yeah. Here it says, what this means, oh yeah, if I had just kept reading, it was coming right up. What this means to us is rapid aging, damage to DNA, proteins, and lipids, fats, and cancer and degenerative disease, including arthritis. Colostrum can help clean up these waste products and counteract their negative effects in the body. It contains a number of powerful antioxidants, including glutathione, the most powerful antioxidant known there, and its chemical precursors. Glutathione itself is not absorbed through the intestinal wall, but the glutathione in colostrum still plays a major role in maintaining gastrointestinal health. And that's true because it's been shown that impairment of glutathione synthesis in the gut is associated with things like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, et cetera. Not absorbed through the intestinal wall, not through your colostrum, but through your acetylglutathione, it certainly is because of the addition of the acetyl molecule. And that's the beauty of the acetyl molecule, the acetylglutathione, is that you have the addition of the acetyl molecule, which protects it from the stomach acid and carries it through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream, where over time it is the acetyl molecule pulls away and the the glutathione over time is converted to what is known as reduced glutathione, which is the form the body uses. Kathy asks, what is the brand I recommend? So I don't recommend, there are good brands out there. What I look for is I want it grass-fed. I don't want it to have the hormones and the things like that. So there are many out there that say that they are USDA grade and they're using cows like that. I like to know that it's grass-fed. You're also looking for immunoglobulins that are at least, well, they say 40%. I chose one to provide here at the shop, but you can shop around and get what you want. But this is forest leaf colostrum, which is grass-fed. It's 2,000 milligrams per serving, which is a really nice dose. And it is 50% IgG, immunoglobulins. So that's the very high potent part for the immune system. But there's a lot of things in there for the immune system. The IgG actually can be bothered by stomach acid. So if you're really taking in a colostrum thing for high IgG, I would recommend doing something that is probably a liposomal delivery. And there's a few of them out there. I'm in touch with a company now to offer a second one that does have a liposomal delivery. Their ratio, their level of IgG immunoglobulins, however, is guaranteed to be 10 to 30%. So I think for a really high-end product for this kind of thing that's affordable, because you can pay a lot of money for colostrum. And so I like this one because I think it's not like it's cheap. It's still, $49 for a container, but some of them are like $109 for 16 ounces. And so for somebody who's using this like I am to support my general health, this is quality. And it's everything that I'm looking for and doesn't have the things that I don't want in there. So that's one that I vetted and I like. And it's very pleasant. I put mine, it kind of thickens. I haven't used this one yet. I ordered myself a different one before I found this. And that's what I'm using until it's gone. And it's fine. I do use a little immersion like milk frother to incorporate it into hot decaf coffee, and only decaf for me because I can't tolerate caffeine. And I don't care if you have caffeine. And then I fill it up and it makes it nice and creamy. It doesn't have any kind of a flavor really. This Kathy was just saying she's going to use it for acid reflux, which is something she's had a problem with for a long time. And Kathy, I would also say add those oral probiotics and see. I would love to try that and see what you think on you. That would be great to get some feedback, some real life feedback. Because again, this is like new stuff. I learn new stuff. I pass it on to you. And a lot of times I haven't had a chance to really experiment with it. But it makes sense. If something makes sense scientifically to me, well, then that is enough for me to be excited about it. So again, we have, come up, it's 1:05. So I've run over a little bit, but this isn't radio, so it doesn't even matter. But I don't want to keep you beyond the time you've dedicated to being with me today. I really appreciate you being here. And I think next week I want to, because there were things I wanted to talk about that I've talked about before that I have more experience with or whatever. So I think I'm going to do kind of a multi-dimensional oh, for heaven's sakes. Lisa, who was just is on the program right now with us in the room. She was talking about some of the things that I've mentioned that I haven't talked about, or that I've mentioned in the past, like rebounding. And I have just taken my rebounding workout to the levels beyond. I love the rebounder, and I want to get back into that. And maybe people haven't even learned about it yet, but rebounding, like the astronauts do, it's a very efficient form of exercise, and it's really wonderful in so many ways. Oil pulling for detoxification and for the health of your mouth, but not just your mouth. And I've been doing that religiously. I never miss. I do that every morning while I'm making the bed and picking out my clothes, and with coconut oil. So I'm going to talk about some things like that. And if you have anything that you want me to talk about, just shoot me email or reach out to me from my website, and I'll include that too. Anyway, I will say goodbye. I hope you have a wonderful week, a wonderful weekend, and a great week next week. And I'll be back next week. See ya.